Today on Logic Launch, we have Mr. Vikram Surana. Mr. Vikram Surana, a partner in one of the big four firms. He is a chartered accountant and a gold medalist from Madras University. He brings over 16 years of expertise to the table, specializing in tax sectors in advisory, compliance, and litigation services. Mr. Surana's contributions extend beyond his professional role, as he has authored numerous articles in leading tax magazines and business dailies. Sir, I know you are from the corporate world and I am an academician. See, in my point of view, I think there is a wide gap between the theoretical teaching and its practical application in the corporate sector. So today, I would like to ask few questions regarding the same.
Sure.
My first question is, sir, what common skill gap you observe in freshers, especially in finance and accounting domain?
I think that's a very good question, and I think I can recall when I was a fresher as well. I think my entire academic life went in preparing for an exam and clearing it, whether it's a professional exam or otherwise. But I think the one gap which I felt when I joined would have been communication being the first one, because you're not used to working in a team, you're not used to responding to people, you're asked questions, you're used to preparing questions, exams in silence, and then writing in silence. There's a lot more communication when you go into the world. You need to be able to talk and convey ideas. So I think that was one. And communication. I think that's very important, irrespective of the field, especially for finance and accounting, because of the importance of what you do. I think if you're dealing with a company and with large numbers, you should be able to communicate clearly whether there is a risk or an opportunity. So that was one. And I think the second one, which is a very obvious skill gap, is you're not trained, or you're not, we call it prepping, to shift from an academic bent of mind to a working kind of a culture outside. And
is it something like theoretical learning and difference between practical?
Clearly. So I think what we very popularly call as on-the-job training is actually a very stressful period for freshers, because they're not used to this transition. They have not been prepared for it. And sometimes we see people who are very good otherwise in academics sometimes don't do well. That is because this practical element is not imparted into their education. And because of which we see a lot of good careers which could have flourished, they fail because they get too stressed about it. So I think these two, the gap between what a job wants and what you're taught in exam, that gap needs to be filled. And communication is of course the second one.
So there are a lot of skill development programs are conducted, especially by the finishing schools and institutions like Logic. Do you feel these programs are aligned with the industry needs and trends?
So I think it is good that we have these programs. When I cleared CA, for example, I didn't have a finishing school or a prep school to be able to take advantage of and help my transition to a job easier. What I feel is it needs to be a lot more. The kind of training, the number of students which it covers needs to be a lot more. Even today, if I look at, let's say, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 CAs passing, or let's say engineers passing out, or MBA graduates, does everyone get this kind of a finishing school training is one, whether the coverage is enough. The second element I feel also is, which I think is important, is the training which is given should be aligned to the kind of jobs which are in the market, and that keeps changing every year, with technology, with AI. So
the work environment is frequently changing.
Yeah. So the if I have a course and a particular, let's say, curriculum, but is it attained to what the job needs are for that sector, which changes every 2-3 years, right? So that is, I think, the second element which needs to be covered. One way to do it is, of course, partner with large recruiters, with large companies, and tell them, listen, what is it that you want?
Okay.
And how best can I design a curriculum? Because it assures two things. One is that.
But you mean understanding the requirements?
Yes. So see, most companies, they at least project a 1 or 2 years hiring cycle for what kind of roles they need. So as long as I know what is the kind of skill set they want, and I'm able to build it into my curriculum, I am able to then assure that the person who's going through this training has a viable job ready. And even the companies know that once I get a student from, let's say, a school which is taught according to my curriculum, I know that I'll not have to spend a lot more on training. So it's a win-win for both, I feel. So being aligned with industry, I think, is an important step which we need to cover.
Okay. One more, actually. Now it's your advice for the future finance professionals.
The most exciting time in history to be in India. There are tremendous opportunities across the country. My only advice to them is be adventurous, be bold. There are so many opportunities out there. You have a bright future. Nothing replaces hard work, nothing replaces knowledge. If that is a foundation, the career can be extremely rewarding. And there are so many opportunities opened up today for a CA or a finance professional. If you look at it, it's whether you want to have a startup, whether you want to join industry, whether you want to join consulting. And even in that, you have such different roles, whether you are into forensics, whether you're into data management, whether you're into analytics. Even if I look at something as traditional as tax, you have compliance, you have technology in tax. So I think the avenues which are there now would not have been possible 10 years back. And a large part of it is because of technology, because of how globally aligned we have become. So my advice to them is to take advantage and no place like our country in India to grow because of the opportunities that are there. And of course, even globally, it's everyone in the world is recognizing our talent and they want Indian talent, in their companies. All big companies, there is an Indian origin CEO or CFO. So I think that recognizes how the world is recognizing us. So I think it's a fantastic time. I'm very excited and I'm hoping that all fresh finance professionals are also excited to be a part of this journey.
Now we are one among the fifth financial power in the world. We are in the fifth financial power. And our expectation is that by 2030, we will become the third one. So your comments about that means regarding the opportunities, the future opportunities.
I think in my lifetime will become number one. By 2040, we are expected to be number two. And I think what is phenomenal in our journey to this is being with our population and with our we are a young country at the end of the day. We got freedom, not a hundreds of years back, in fact, a few decades back. And if you're able to become number 5, aspire to be number 2 in just maybe 16 years, I think that just speaks volume of the talent of people. And I believe in India's growth story. And I think number 1 should not be very far away too for us.
Okay. So we can hope that the future of the youngsters, the future finance professionals also.
As I said, it's the most exciting period to be in India.
It will be exciting.
In our entire history. Like it's an exciting time. Next couple of decades, I think, are going to be phenomenal.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sir Santosh. Thank you. Great talking to you.